The morning sun cast long shadows across the military base as Staff Sergeant Maria Santos adjusted her uniform one final time before stepping out of the transport vehicle. The dust from the convoy still hung in the air, mixing with the scent of diesel fuel and desert heat. She had been deployed to Forward Operating Base Atlas for less than 24 hours, but already she could feel the weight of suspicious stares from her new unit members. Maria carried her rifle case with practiced ease, her movements precise and confident despite the hostile environment she was entering. At 28 years old, she had earned every stripe on her sleeve through dedication, skill, and countless hours of training that most soldiers never experienced. Her specialty was precision marksmanship, a field dominated by men who often questioned whether a woman belonged among their ranks. The base buzzed with activity as soldiers prepared for the day's operations. Humvees rumbled past, kicking up clouds of sand, while personnel moved between buildings with purpose. Maria noticed how conversations seemed to pause as she walked by, how eyes followed her movements with curiosity and doubt. She had grown accustomed to this reception at every new assignment. "You must be the new sniper they sent us," called a voice from behind her. Maria turned to see a tall, broad-shouldered sergeant approaching with a group of soldiers trailing behind him. His name tape read Rodriguez, and his expression carried the familiar mix of skepticism and amusement she had encountered before. "Staff Sergeant Santos, reporting for duty," she replied, setting down her equipment and extending her hand. Rodriguez shook it briefly, his grip firm but not crushing, testing her resolve in that subtle way military men often did with women in their ranks. "I'm Sergeant Rodriguez, squad leader for the reconnaissance team. We heard they were sending us a specialist, but nobody mentioned." He paused, looking her up and down with obvious doubt. "Well, that you'd be a woman." The other soldiers chuckled quietly, exchanging glances that spoke volumes about their expectations. Maria had heard variations of this conversation at every base, with every new assignment. She maintained her professional demeanor, knowing that her actions would speak louder than any words she could offer in defense. "I understand there might be some adjustments, Sergeant. I'm here to do my job and support the mission, just like everyone else," Maria responded evenly. She had learned early in her career that getting defensive only reinforced their doubts. Better to let her performance demonstrate her capabilities. One of the younger soldiers, barely out of basic training by the look of him, whispered something to his companion that made them both snicker. Maria caught fragments of their conversation, something about pretty little princess and playing soldier. She had heard it all before, but it still stung more than she cared to admit. The base commander's office was located in the main administrative building, a concrete structure that offered some relief from the desert heat. Maria made her way through the corridors, following signs and directions from helpful personnel who seemed genuinely welcoming compared to her reception with the reconnaissance team. General Harrison's reputation preceded him throughout the military. He was known as a no-nonsense leader who demanded excellence from every soldier under his command. His office walls displayed numerous commendations, unit citations, and photographs from decades of military service. When Maria knocked on his door, his gruff voice commanded her to enter. "Staff Sergeant Santos, sir." "Reporting as ordered," she announced, snapping to attention with crisp precision. The general looked up from his paperwork, his weathered face showing the same surprise she had grown tired of seeing. General Harrison was a large man, his presence filling the room even while seated behind his desk. His gray hair was cut in a perfect military style, and his uniform bore the ribbons and decorations of a distinguished career. He studied Maria for a long moment, his eyes taking in every detail of her appearance and bearing. "At ease, Sergeant. I have to admit, when they told me they were sending one of the Army's top snipers to support our operations, I expected." He gestured vaguely, clearly struggling with how to express his surprise diplomatically. "Someone different, sir," Maria suggested, maintaining her professional tone despite the familiar sting of disappointment. She had hoped that her reputation might precede her prejudices, but apparently even generals fell victim to assumptions. "Exactly. Your personnel file shows impressive statistics, Santos. 96 confirmed kills over 3 tours, expert marksmanship ratings, and commendations from multiple commanding officers. That's why I requested you specifically for this assignment. The general's voice carried a note of confusion, as if he couldn't reconcile the numbers on paper with the woman standing before him. Maria felt a spark of hope. Perhaps this assignment would be different. Perhaps General Harrison would judge her by her record rather than her gender. Thank you, sir. I'm ready to contribute to whatever mission you have planned. The general stood and walked to a large map mounted on the wall behind his desk. The area of operations was marked with various symbols indicating friendly forces, suspected enemy positions, and key terrain features. Red circles marked locations where insurgent activity had been particularly troublesome. We've been dealing with increased sniper activity in this sector, he explained, pointing to a cluster of red markings. Enemy marksmen have been targeting our patrols, supply convoys, and even personnel within the base perimeter. We need someone who can counter their efforts and provide overwatch for our operations. This was exactly the type of mission Maria excelled at. Counter-sniper operations required patience, skill, and the ability to think like the enemy. She studied the map carefully, noting elevation points, sight lines, and potential hiding spots that enemy snipers might use. What's the typical engagement range, sir? And do we have any intelligence on their equipment or training level? She asked, her mind already working through tactical considerations. General Harrison seemed pleased by her professional questions. Engagement ranges vary from 300 to 800 meters, depending on the terrain. Intelligence suggests they're using Soviet-era equipment, mostly Dragunov rifles, but some reports indicate more modern weapons may be in play. Their training level appears to be above average for typical insurgents. The briefing continued for another 20 minutes as the general outlined the specific challenges his forces were facing. Enemy snipers had claimed the lives of 7 American soldiers in the past month, and morale was suffering. Standard infantry tactics weren't effective against skilled marksmen who knew the terrain and could disappear after taking their shots. Your job will be to hunt these snipers, Santos. Eliminate the threat and protect our people. Can you handle that responsibility? The general's question carried weight beyond the tactical challenge. He was asking whether she could take lives, whether she had the mental toughness required for the mission. Yes, sir. That's what I'm trained for, Maria replied without hesitation. She had faced this question before, and her answer never wavered. Taking a life was never easy, but protecting her fellow soldiers was a responsibility she accepted completely. As Maria left the general's office, she felt cautiously optimistic about the mission ahead. At least her commanding officer seemed willing to give her a chance to prove herself. The real test would come from the soldiers she would work alongside, the men who would have to trust her with their lives. The barracks assigned to her were basic but functional. A narrow cot, a small locker, and a desk were the only furnishings in the concrete-walled room. Maria unpacked her personal gear methodically, arranging everything with the precision that characterized every aspect of her military life. Her rifle case contained her most prized possession, a customized M24 sniper weapon system that had been modified to her exact specifications. The weapon had accompanied her through 3 combat tours, and she knew its capabilities better than she knew her own heartbeat. Every adjustment, every modification had been tested and proven in combat conditions. As evening approached, Maria made her way to the dining facility. The large room buzzed with conversation and the clatter of trays and utensils. She chose a table in the corner, hoping to eat her meal in relative peace while observing the social dynamics of her new unit. Mind if we sit here? Sergeant Rodriguez appeared beside her table with several other soldiers from the reconnaissance team. Maria gestured to the empty chairs, curious about their intentions. We wanted to talk to you about tomorrow's patrol, Rodriguez began after the group settled around the table. The route takes us through some of the areas where we've lost people to sniper fire. General Harrison wants you to provide overwatch, but we need to know you can handle yourself out there. The soldiers around the table watched her carefully, their expressions serious. These weren't men trying to make her feel unwelcome. They were professionals concerned about their safety and the safety of their teammates. Maria appreciated their directness. What specific concerns do you have, Sergeant? She asked, setting down her fork and giving them her full attention. No offense intended, but we've never worked with a female sniper before. Combat is unpredictable, and we need to know that when things go sideways, you won't freeze up or become a liability, Rodriguez explained bluntly. One of the other soldiers, a corporal named Jenkins, leaned forward. We've heard about your record, and it's impressive on paper. But out here, things are different. The enemy knows our patterns, our routes, our tactics. They're smart, patient, and deadly accurate. Maria listened to their concerns without defensiveness. These men had every right to question her capabilities when their lives might depend on her skills. She had earned their doubt through years of military culture that questioned women's roles in combat. But she would earn their respect through performance. I understand your concerns, and I respect your right to voice them. All I can tell you is that my record speaks for itself, but I know that doesn't mean much until you see me in action. Give me a chance to prove myself, and judge me by my performance, not my gender. The conversation continued for another hour as the soldiers shared their experiences with enemy tactics and described the specific challenges they faced in their area of operations. Maria listened carefully, absorbing every detail that might prove useful in the field. As the group prepared to leave, Rodriguez turned back to her. Santos, for what it's worth, General Harrison wouldn't have requested you specifically if he didn't believe in your abilities. We'll give you that chance to prove yourself. But understand that out there, hesitation gets people killed. Understood, Sergeant. I won't let you down, Maria replied with conviction. Alone in her barracks that night, Maria performed her pre-mission ritual. She cleaned and inspected her rifle with methodical precision, checking every component and mechanism. Her equipment was arranged and rearranged until everything was exactly where she needed it to be. The weight of expectation pressed down on her as she prepared for sleep. Tomorrow would begin another test of her abilities, another opportunity to prove that gender had no bearing on her effectiveness as a sniper. She had passed this test before, but each new assignment brought fresh challenges and skeptical faces. Maria's training had taught her to visualize successful mission outcomes, to mentally rehearse every aspect of her job until execution became automatic. She pictured herself in various scenarios, identifying targets, calculating windage and elevation, controlling her breathing and trigger pull. Sleep came fitfully, interrupted by the sounds of base activity and the nervous energy that always preceded combat operations. Maria had learned to rest when she could, knowing that exhaustion was as dangerous as enemy bullets in her line of work. The alarm sounded at 0500 hours. Beginning another day that would test her skills and determination. Maria rose quickly, her body already accustomed to the rhythm of military life. Today would be her first chance to demonstrate her capabilities to the soldiers who would become her teammates or her skeptics, depending on her performance. Outside her window, the base was already awakening to another day of operations in hostile territory. Somewhere in the distance, enemy snipers were probably preparing for their own missions, planning to target American soldiers who were simply trying to serve their country and return home safely. Maria understood the stakes completely. Lives depended on her ability to outthink, outshoot, and outmaneuver enemy marksmen who had been killing her fellow soldiers. The general's faith in her abilities would be tested, Rodriguez's concerns would be answered, and her own reputation would either be enhanced or damaged by her performance. As she prepared her equipment for the day's mission, Maria felt the familiar calm that preceded combat. This was what she had trained for, what she excelled at, and what she loved about her military service. Gender became irrelevant when bullets started flying and lives hung in the balance. The mission briefing would begin in 2 hours, followed by equipment checks and final preparations. Then, she would accompany the reconnaissance patrol into territory where enemy snipers waited with patience and deadly intent. Today would determine whether Staff Sergeant Maria Santos would earn the respect of her new unit or become another casualty of prejudice and doubt. The sun was beginning to rise over the desert landscape, painting the sky in shades of orange and red that reminded Maria of sunrises over her hometown in Texas. Somewhere out there, enemy marksmen were watching the same sunrise, preparing for a day of hunting American soldiers. But they didn't know that Maria Santos was hunting them in return. The mission briefing room filled with the subdued chatter of soldiers preparing for another dangerous patrol. Maria entered carrying her equipment, noting how conversations seemed to quiet as she took her seat near the back. She had chosen this position deliberately, wanting to observe the team dynamics while avoiding unnecessary attention. Lieutenant Colonel Bradley stood at the front of the room beside a detailed map of the patrol route. His expression was grim as he waited for the last stragglers to find their seats. The officer had the weathered look of someone who had seen too much combat and lost too many soldiers to enemy fire. "Gentlemen and lady," he began with a slight nod toward Maria. "Today's patrol will take us through Grid Square Charlie 7, specifically the village of Al-Rashid and the surrounding hills. Intelligence indicates increased enemy activity in this sector over the past week. Red pins marked locations where previous patrols had encountered sniper fire. Maria counted 7 pins clustered around elevated positions that offered commanding views of the main road and village approaches. Her tactical mind automatically began calculating sight lines, escape routes, and optimal firing positions. Enemy snipers have been particularly active along this stretch of road, the lieutenant colonel continued, pointing to a section that curved through rocky terrain. 3 casualties in the past 10 days, all single shots from concealed positions at ranges exceeding 600 meters. Sergeant Rodriguez raised his hand. "Sir, what's our primary objective for this patrol? Are we hunting these snipers specifically, or conducting standard reconnaissance?" "Both. Your team will gather intelligence on enemy movements and civilian activity, but elimination of sniper threats is now our top priority. That's why Staff Sergeant Santos has been assigned to provide overwatch and counter-sniper capabilities." Maria felt the weight of expectant stares as soldiers turned to look at her. Some faces showed curiosity, others skepticism, and a few displayed the kind of doubt she had encountered throughout her military career. She maintained her professional bearing, knowing that words would mean nothing compared to performance in the field. "Santos, you'll be positioned to provide overwatch from elevated positions along the route. Your job is to identify and eliminate any sniper threats before they can engage our patrol." Questions. The lieutenant colonel's tone suggested he expected competent performance regardless of gender. "Yes, sir." "Do we have any intelligence on the enemy's preferred operating procedures? Times of day, weather conditions, typical engagement patterns?" Maria's questions were crisp and professional, focused entirely on mission-relevant details. They tend to operate during morning and late afternoon hours when shadows provide better concealment. Typical pattern is single shots followed by immediate displacement. They know the terrain well and have established multiple firing positions throughout the area. The briefing continued for another 30 minutes as the lieutenant colonel outlined communication procedures, medical evacuation plans, and rules of engagement. Maria absorbed every detail, her mind already working through tactical scenarios and potential problems. After dismissal, the patrol members gathered their equipment and conducted final preparations. Maria observed the easy camaraderie between soldiers who had served together for months, noting how they checked each other's gear and shared quiet jokes to ease pre-mission tension. Corporal Jenkins approached as she adjusted her rifle sling. "Santos, where do you want us to position ourselves when you're setting up Overwatch? We've never worked with a dedicated sniper before." His question was professional and practical, showing genuine interest in effective coordination rather than testing her knowledge. Maria appreciated his straightforward approach. "Ideally, you'll continue your patrol pattern while I establish Overwatch from elevated positions. I'll move parallel to your route, staying within radio contact and maintaining visual coverage of potential threat areas. If you take contact, continue your mission while I hunt the shooter." Jenkins nodded thoughtfully. "Makes sense. How will we know if you've identified a threat?" "I'll radio threat locations and keep you informed of my movements. If I engage a target, you'll hear the shot and my confirmation over the radio. Your job is to continue the mission and trust that I'm handling the sniper threat." The conversation drew interest from other team members who gathered around to understand how their tactics would change with sniper support. Maria answered their questions patiently, explaining sight lines, communication procedures, and coordination techniques that would keep everyone safer. "One more thing," Sergeant Rodriguez interjected. "We move fast when we need to, and sometimes the terrain gets rough. You sure you can keep up while carrying all that extra equipment?" The question contained an obvious challenge, but Maria had faced similar doubts before. Her physical conditioning was part of her professional preparation, just like marksmanship and tactical knowledge. I've completed every physical fitness test alongside male soldiers, Sergeant. I can keep pace with your team while carrying my equipment. If that changes during the mission, I'll let you know immediately. Rodriguez studied her for a moment, then nodded slowly. Fair enough. We roll out in 15 minutes. The armored vehicles were already running when Maria climbed into the back of the second Humvee. Her position allowed her to observe the surrounding terrain while maintaining radio contact with the patrol leader. The desert landscape stretched endlessly in all directions, broken only by rocky hills and scattered vegetation. Private First Class Morrison, barely 19 years old, sat across from her nervously adjusting his equipment. This was apparently his first patrol outside the base perimeter, and his anxiety was obvious despite efforts to appear calm and professional. First time out here, Morrison? Maria asked quietly, recognizing the signs of pre-combat nervousness she had experienced herself years earlier. Yes, ma'am. I mean, Staff Sergeant. Sorry. Morrison's face reddened with embarrassment at his mistake. I've heard about the sniper activity in this area. Guys talk about it in the barracks. What do they say? Maria was genuinely curious about how the enlisted soldiers perceived the threat and their own vulnerability. They say the enemy snipers are like ghosts. One shot. Then, they disappear before anyone can find them. Some guys think they're using tunnels or caves to move around undetected. Morrison's voice carried the mix of fear and fascination that young soldiers often developed regarding enemy capabilities. Fear can be useful if it keeps you alert, but don't let it paralyze you. Follow your training, listen to your team leaders, and stay focused on your job. That's how you stay alive out here. The convoy rolled through checkpoint after checkpoint as they left the secure area around the base. Each checkpoint marked another step into increasingly dangerous territory where enemy forces operated with growing boldness and sophistication. Maria studied the terrain carefully, noting elevation changes, potential sniper hides, and sight lines that could threaten the patrol route. Her trained eye identified dozens of locations where a skilled marksman could engage targets effectively while maintaining good escape routes. Santos, this is Rodriguez. We're approaching phase line Alpha. Time for you to dismount and establish your first overwatch position. The radio crackled with static, but his message was clear. Roger, Rodriguez. Moving to overwatch position now. Maria gathered her equipment quickly and prepared to exit the vehicle. This was the moment when her real job began. The rocky hill designated as her first position offered excellent visibility over the village approach and main road. Maria moved up the slope with practiced stealth, using available cover and concealment to avoid detection by potential enemy observers. Setting up a sniper position required careful consideration of multiple factors. Maria needed clear sight lines to potential threat areas, good concealment from enemy observation, and viable escape routes if her position became compromised. She also needed to remain within radio contact with the patrol. Her rifle bipod extended smoothly as she settled into a comfortable shooting position. The scope's magnification revealed details invisible to the naked eye. Windows in distant buildings, rocky outcroppings that could hide enemy snipers, and movement patterns of civilians going about their daily business. Rodriguez, this is Santos. Overwatch established. Grid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have eyes on your route for the next 800 meters. Moving when you reach checkpoint Bravo. Roger, Santos. We're Oscar Mike toward the village now. Through her scope, Maria watched the patrol vehicles move along the dusty road below. The soldiers looked small and vulnerable from her elevated position, reminding her of the enormous responsibility she carried. Their safety depended on her ability to spot and eliminate threats before enemy snipers could engage. The village of Al-Rashid spread across a small valley, its mud brick buildings and narrow streets creating countless potential hiding places. Maria systematically scanned each structure, looking for signs of enemy activity, unusual shadows, glints of metal that might indicate weapon systems, or movement patterns that didn't match normal civilian behavior. A flash of reflected sunlight caught her attention from a building approximately 600 meters from the patrol route. Maria adjusted her scope's focus and observed the location carefully. After several minutes of patient observation, she detected slight movement behind a partially collapsed wall. Rodriguez, possible sniper position in building complex northwest of your location. Two-story structure with damaged roof, approximately 600 meters from checkpoint Bravo. Recommend you halt movement while I investigate. Copy that, Santos. Patrol holding position. Maria shifted her rifle slightly, bringing the suspected position into perfect focus. Her breathing slowed automatically as she entered the calm, controlled state that characterized her best shooting. Years of training had taught her to manage stress, control her heartbeat, and maintain steady aim even under pressure. Through the scope, she could see a figure moving carefully behind the broken wall. The person carried what appeared to be a long weapon and was positioning himself to overlook the patrol route. His movements were deliberate and tactical, suggesting military training rather than civilian activity. Rodriguez, I have positive identification of armed individual in sniper position. Adult male with rifle, currently setting up to engage your patrol. Requesting permission to engage. Santos, you are cleared hot. Take the shot. Maria's world narrowed to the precise calculation required for a successful engagement. Range, 587 meters. Wind, light breeze from the west, approximately 5 miles per hour. Temperature, warm but not excessive. Elevation, slight upward angle requiring minor scope adjustment. Her breathing controlled, Maria settled the crosshairs precisely on the target's center mass. The enemy sniper was completely unaware of her presence, focused entirely on preparing his own shot at the American patrol below. The rifle's trigger broke cleanly under steady pressure. The .308 caliber round crossed the distance in less than a second, striking the target before the sound of the shot reached his position. Through her scope, Maria confirmed that the threat had been eliminated. Rodriguez, target down. Threat eliminated. You're clear to continue movement. Outstanding shooting, Santos. How did you spot him from that distance? Maria was already packing her equipment to move to the next overwatch position. Staying in one location too long after taking a shot was dangerous, as enemy forces would attempt to locate and engage her position. Training and experience, Rodriguez. Moving to next position now. The patrol continued through the village without incident, but Maria remained vigilant for additional threats. Enemy snipers often worked in pairs or teams, with one shooter providing overwatch while others engaged targets from different positions. Her second overwatch position offered coverage of the village's eastern edge and the road leading into the surrounding hills. This area had been the site of 2 previous sniper attacks, making it a high-priority area for observation. As she settled into her new position, Maria reflected on the morning's events. The successful elimination of the enemy sniper would undoubtedly improve her standing with the patrol members, but she knew that one good shot didn't guarantee acceptance or respect. Santos, this is Rodriguez. We've completed our sweep of the village and are moving toward phase line Charlie. Any activity in your sector? Negative contact in my area. I'm moving to establish overwatch for your next checkpoint. Estimate 5 minutes to get into position. The rocky terrain challenged Maria's physical conditioning as she moved quickly between positions while carrying her heavy equipment. Her rifle, ammunition, radio, and ancillary gear weighed nearly 60 pounds, but years of training had prepared her for exactly this type of movement. Private Morrison's voice came over the radio with obvious excitement. Did you see that shot? She nailed that guy from over 500 meters. 1 shot, 1 kill. Maintain radio discipline, Morrison. Sergeant Rodriguez's voice carried mild reproach, but Maria could hear satisfaction in his tone as well. The patrol's movement through potentially dangerous terrain required constant vigilance and professional communication. Maria appreciated Rodriguez's leadership style, which balanced necessary caution with mission accomplishment. Her third overwatch position provided excellent visibility over a section of road where the previous patrol had taken casualties. Enemy snipers had demonstrated particular effectiveness in this area, suggesting they had prepared positions and escape routes that allowed them to engage targets repeatedly. Through patient observation, Maria identified several locations that could conceal enemy marksmen. The terrain offered numerous rocky outcroppings, abandoned structures, and elevated positions that provided both concealment and good sight lines to the road below. Rodriguez, I'm seeing movement in the hills approximately 800 meters northeast of your position. Can't get positive identification yet, but recommend increased vigilance. Copy, Santos. We're maintaining heightened alertness. Let us know if the movement becomes a threat. Maria continued her careful observation as the patrol moved through the danger area. The movement she had detected appeared to be civilian herders moving their animals to grazing areas. But she maintained watch until the patrol cleared the potential engagement zone. The morning's mission demonstrated the value of dedicated sniper support for patrol operations. Maria's overwatch had eliminated one confirmed threat and provided early warning of potential problems throughout the route. Her professional performance was beginning to earn respect from the soldiers who had questioned her capabilities. As the patrol returned toward base, Maria felt cautious satisfaction with her initial performance. The successful engagement had demonstrated her tactical skills and marksmanship abilities, but she knew that earning complete acceptance would require consistent performance over time. Sergeant Rodriguez's voice crackled over the radio as they approached the base perimeter. Santos, solid work today. That sniper you eliminated was definitely preparing to engage our patrol. You saved lives out there. Thank you, Sergeant. Just doing my job. But Maria knew that today's mission represented more than just doing her job. It was the beginning of proving that gender had no bearing on combat effectiveness, that professional competence was the only standard that mattered in life-or-death situations. The base gates appeared ahead, marking the end of a successful mission and the beginning of what Maria hoped would be growing acceptance among her new unit members. Today's performance had answered some questions, but she knew that many challenges still lay ahead. The debriefing session took place in the same room where the morning's mission had been planned. Lieutenant Colonel Bradley listened intently as Sergeant Rodriguez provided detailed reports on patrol activities, enemy contact, and the successful elimination of the sniper threat. Maria sat quietly while Rodriguez described the engagement, noting how his account emphasized her professional performance and tactical competence. The sergeant's description focused on mission results rather than her gender, treating her contribution as he would any other team member's effective performance. The sniper Santos eliminated was positioned to inflict significant casualties on our patrol. His location provided excellent sight lines to our route, and he was clearly preparing to engage when she took the shot, Rodriguez concluded his report. Lieutenant Colonel Bradley turned his attention to Maria. Santos, walk us through your engagement, range, conditions, and your assessment of the target's capabilities. Sir, target was approximately 587 meters from my position, adult male armed with what appeared to be a Dragunov sniper rifle. Wind conditions were minimal, clear sight lines, and the target was unaware of my presence. He was positioning himself to engage the patrol when I received clearance to fire. Time from target identification to elimination? Approximately 3 minutes, sir. I observed the position for confirmation before requesting permission to engage. The target's movements and equipment clearly indicated hostile intent. The lieutenant colonel made notes in his report file, then looked up with an expression that suggested grudging respect. Good work, Santos. Your performance today prevented casualties and allowed the patrol to complete its mission successfully. After the formal debriefing, several patrol members approached Maria as she gathered her equipment. Their attitudes had shifted noticeably from the morning's skepticism to something approaching professional acceptance. Corporal Jenkins was the first to speak. That was some impressive shooting out there. I've seen a lot of guys miss targets at half that range under ideal conditions. How long have you been doing this? 8 years since I qualified as a sniper, but I've been shooting competitively since I was 12. My father taught me on his ranch in Texas. Maria appreciated that Jenkins was asking about her experience rather than questioning her presence in the unit. Private Morrison, who had seemed so nervous during the morning patrol, looked at her with obvious admiration. Will you be going out with us on all our patrols? Having sniper overwatch makes everything feel safer. That depends on mission requirements and what the lieutenant colonel decides. Today was successful, but every patrol will present different challenges. Maria didn't want to promise more than she could deliver or assume that one good performance guaranteed continued assignment with the team. Sergeant Rodriguez approached as the group began to disperse. Santos, the guys want to grab some chow and decompress from the mission. You're welcome to join us if you want. The invitation represented a significant step toward acceptance within the unit. Military meals were often informal social events where bonds were formed and unit cohesion developed. Being included suggested that her performance had begun to overcome initial skepticism. I'd appreciate that, Sergeant. Let me secure my equipment first. The dining facility buzzed with the usual mix of conversations about missions, mail from home, and complaints about military life. Maria followed the patrol members to a table in the corner where they could discuss the day's events without being overheard by other soldiers. I have to admit, when I first heard they were sending us a female sniper, I had my doubts, Rodriguez said bluntly as they settled around the table. Nothing personal, just never worked with a woman in that role before. What changed your mind? Maria asked, genuinely curious about his perspective. Professional competence. You spotted that sniper before any of us had a clue he was there, made a clean kill at long range, and communicated clearly throughout the mission. That's what matters in combat, not whether you're male or female. Jenkins nodded in agreement. Plus, you didn't try to prove anything or show off. Just did your job professionally and effectively. That speaks volumes about your experience and training. The conversation continued as they shared stories about previous missions, close calls, and the challenges of operating in hostile territory. Maria found herself relaxing slightly as the soldiers included her naturally in their discussions. What's the longest shot you've ever made? Morrison asked with the curiosity of someone new to combat operations. Just over 1,200 meters, on my second tour in Afghanistan. Taliban fighter with an RPG positioned to engage a convoy. Took 3 shots to get the range, but the target never moved from his position. 3 shots. Why not 1? Rodriguez's question showed professional interest rather than criticism. Wind conditions were challenging, and I was shooting across a valley with significant elevation changes. Sometimes you need to walk your shots on a target, especially at extreme ranges with less than ideal conditions. The explanation led to a technical discussion about long-range shooting techniques, environmental factors that affected bullet trajectory, and the mental aspects of precision marksmanship. Maria appreciated the soldiers' genuine interest in learning from her expertise. As the meal wound down, Lieutenant Colonel Bradley entered the dining facility and approached their table. His presence caused the soldiers to straighten slightly, though the atmosphere remained relaxed. Mind if I join you for a moment? He asked, pulling up an empty chair. I wanted to discuss tomorrow's mission with Santos. Maria felt a flutter of anticipation. A follow-up mission so quickly after today's success suggested that her performance had made a positive impression on the command structure. Intelligence indicates that the sniper you eliminated today was part of a larger network operating in our area of operations. We need to disrupt their activities before they can reorganize and continue targeting our patrols. The lieutenant colonel spread a map on the table, pointing to several locations marked with red symbols. These positions have been used by enemy snipers over the past month. We think they're rotating between prepared positions to avoid detection and return fire. Maria studied the map carefully, noting the tactical relationships between the marked positions. The locations showed intelligent planning, with overlapping fields of fire and multiple escape routes that would allow snipers to engage targets and withdraw safely. Sir, these positions suggest coordinated planning and professional training. This isn't random insurgent activity. Someone with military experience is organizing their operations. Our assessment agrees with yours. That's why tomorrow's mission will be different from today's patrol. Instead of providing overwatch for a reconnaissance team, you'll be hunting these snipers specifically. Rodriguez leaned forward with interest. What kind of support will she have? Going after trained snipers in their own territory is dangerous business. A 4-man team will accompany her for security and support, but Santos will be the primary hunter. Her job is to identify, engage, and eliminate the sniper threat while the team provides protection and intelligence gathering. Maria felt excitement building as she considered the tactical challenge ahead. Counter-sniper operations required patience, skill, and the ability to think like her adversaries. This was exactly the type of mission she had trained for throughout her career. What's the timeline, sir? And do we have any specific intelligence on their movement patterns or preferred operating procedures? Mission launches at 0600 tomorrow. Intelligence suggests they prefer early morning and late afternoon operations when lighting conditions provide optimal concealment. They typically engage targets once from each position before relocating. The lieutenant colonel continued his briefing, providing details about suspected enemy capabilities, recent activity patterns, and specific terrain features that might influence tactical decisions. Maria absorbed every piece of information, already beginning to formulate her hunting strategy. Santos, this mission will test your abilities differently than today's Overwatch. You'll be actively hunting experienced enemies who know you're coming. They'll be looking for you just as hard as you're looking for them. I understand, sir. Counter-sniper operations are what I do best. Give me good intelligence and competent support, and I'll eliminate the threat. After the lieutenant colonel departed, the soldiers around the table looked at Maria with expressions that mixed respect with concern. Tomorrow's mission carried significantly higher risks than the morning's patrol had presented. You sure you're ready for this? Rodriguez asked seriously. Hunting snipers is a whole different game than providing Overwatch. These guys will be specifically trying to kill you. I've done it before, Sergeant. Different terrain, different enemy, but the same basic principles apply. Patient observation, careful movement, and superior shooting skills usually win the day. Jenkins frowned thoughtfully. What if there's more than one of them? What if they're working together to set up an ambush? That's why I'll have support from your team. My job is to locate and engage the snipers. Your job is to watch my back and provide security while I hunt. Teamwork is essential for mission success. The discussion continued as the soldiers shared their knowledge of local terrain, enemy tactics they had observed, and specific challenges that might complicate tomorrow's mission. Maria appreciated their professional input and their growing acceptance of her role. Later that evening, Maria returned to her quarters to prepare for the next day's operation. Counter-sniper missions required different equipment and tactics than Overwatch operations, and her preparation needed to be thorough and methodical. She laid out her gear systematically: rifle and ammunition, observation equipment, communications gear, survival supplies, and specialized tools for extended field operations. Every item was inspected, tested, and arranged for quick access during the mission. Her rifle received particular attention as she cleaned and adjusted every component. Tomorrow's engagement might require shots at extreme ranges under challenging conditions, and weapon reliability could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. The intelligence packet provided by the lieutenant colonel contained detailed maps, aerial photographs, and written reports from previous patrol encounters. Maria studied each document carefully, looking for patterns that might reveal enemy preferences or tactical weaknesses. One photograph showed bullet damage to an armored vehicle that had survived a sniper attack. The angle and location of the impact suggested the shooter had been positioned in elevated terrain approximately 700 meters from the target. The precision of the shot indicated professional training and quality equipment. Another report described a near miss that had passed within inches of a soldier's head during a patrol last week. The range had been estimated at over 800 meters, demonstrating that enemy snipers possessed both skill and confidence in their abilities. As she prepared for sleep, Maria reviewed her mental checklist for counter-sniper operations. Tomorrow would require patience, precision, and the ability to outthink adversaries who possessed home field advantage and intimate knowledge of the terrain. The mission represented a significant step forward in her acceptance by the unit, but it also carried enormous pressure. Failure could result in casualties among soldiers who were beginning to trust her capabilities, and success would further establish her reputation as a competent professional. Outside her window, the base settled into its nighttime routine of guard rotations, equipment maintenance, and the constant vigilance required in hostile territory. Somewhere beyond the perimeter, enemy snipers were probably planning their own missions, calculating ranges, and preparing equipment for another day of hunting American soldiers. But tomorrow, Maria would be hunting them in return. The game of cat and Mouse between opposing marksmen would test every skill she had developed throughout her military career, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Sleep came gradually as she mentally rehearsed various scenarios and tactical responses. Tomorrow's mission would prove whether her morning's success had been lucky coincidence or genuine professional competence. The soldiers who were beginning to accept her presence would have their answers soon enough. The alarm would sound in 6 hours, beginning another day that could establish her reputation permanently or end her career in devastating failure. Maria had faced similar pressure before, but tomorrow's mission felt different somehow, more consequential than previous operations. As consciousness faded, her last thoughts focused on the tactical challenges ahead and the soldiers whose lives might depend on her abilities. Tomorrow would answer the question that followed her throughout her military career. Could a woman perform as effectively as men in the most demanding combat roles? The enemy snipers waiting in the hills beyond the base perimeter would provide that answer through the ultimate test of professional competence under fire. The pre-dawn darkness provided perfect cover as Maria and her four-man support team moved through the rocky terrain beyond the base perimeter. Their destination was a ridge line approximately 3 kilometers from where intelligence suggested enemy snipers had established their primary operating area. Staff Sergeant Williams led the support team, with Corporals Martinez, Thompson, and Hassan providing security and reconnaissance capabilities. These soldiers had volunteered for the mission after yesterday's successful patrol, expressing confidence in Maria's abilities and genuine interest in eliminating the sniper threat. Santos, we'll establish a security perimeter once we reach the observation point. You'll have freedom of movement within our protected zone, but coordinate any major position changes with me, Williams whispered as they navigated through a particularly challenging section of rocky terrain. Understood. I'll need elevated positions with good sight lines to the suspected sniper locations. Your team's job is to make sure nobody sneaks up on me while I'm focused on hunting. The team moved with practiced stealth, using available cover and avoiding skylines that might silhouette them against the lightning sky. Maria was impressed by their professionalism and tactical competence, feeling confident that they would provide effective support during the coming engagement. Her equipment felt familiar and comfortable despite the challenging terrain. The rifle's weight was distributed perfectly through her gear configuration, and every piece of specialized equipment was positioned for quick access during potential combat situations. As they approached the designated observation area, Maria began scanning potential sniper positions through her spotting scope. The enemy had chosen their operating area well, with numerous rocky outcroppings and abandoned structures that provided both concealment and excellent fields of fire. Williams, I'm seeing at least 6 positions that could hide enemy snipers. Range varies from 600 to 1,200 meters from our location. We'll need to be patient and wait for them to reveal themselves through movement or muzzle flash. Copy that. My team will establish overwatch positions to cover your flanks and rear. How long do you think this might take? Could be minutes, could be hours. Enemy snipers are patient, and they know we're looking for them. They'll wait for the right opportunity to engage targets, which means we wait for them to make mistakes. The support team dispersed to their assigned positions with minimal noise, establishing a security perimeter that allowed Maria to focus entirely on hunting enemy marksmen. Their professionalism impressed her, demonstrating the high standards that characterized elite military units. Through her scope, Maria began systematic observation of each potential sniper location. This process required enormous patience and attention to detail, watching for any sign of human presence, unnatural shadows, equipment reflections, or movement that didn't match environmental patterns. The morning sun gradually illuminated the landscape, revealing details that had been hidden in pre-dawn darkness. Maria adjusted her scope settings to compensate for changing light conditions, maintaining optimal visibility as she continued her careful search. Approximately 2 hours into the mission, she detected slight movement behind a rocky outcropping about 800 meters from her position. The movement was subtle and brief, but her trained eye caught the unnatural motion that suggested human presence. Williams, possible contact at grid 234567. Rocky position approximately 800 meters northeast of our location. I need time to confirm before engaging. Roger, Santos. We'll maintain security while you investigate. Maria shifted her rifle slightly, bringing the suspected position into perfect focus through her scope. Patient observation revealed nothing for nearly 30 minutes, making her question whether the movement had been wind-blown debris or shadows created by shifting clouds. Then, she saw it again, the distinctive glint of sunlight reflecting off an optical device. An enemy sniper was using his own scope to scan for targets, unaware that he was being observed by American forces positioned in superior terrain. Williams, confirmed enemy sniper in rocky position. Adult male with scoped rifle, currently observing toward the base perimeter. Range 847 meters, clear shot available. You're cleared hot, Santos. Take him down. Maria's breathing slowed automatically as she prepared for the long-range engagement. Wind conditions were minimal, though slight air currents rising from the heated rocks below could affect bullet trajectory. Temperature was climbing steadily as the sun gained strength, requiring minor scope adjustments. The enemy sniper remained focused on his own hunting, completely unaware that he had become the hunted. His position provided excellent concealment from ground-level observation, but left him exposed to Maria's elevated shooting position. Her crosshairs settled precisely on the target's center mass. Range, 847 meters. Wind, negligible. Elevation, downward angle requiring scope adjustment. Target, stationary and unaware. The rifle's trigger broke cleanly under steady pressure. The .308 caliber round crossed the distance in just over 1 second, striking the target before the sound of the shot reached his position. Through her scope, Maria confirmed the elimination of the first threat. Target down. Threat eliminated. She reported calmly while already scanning for additional enemies who might have heard the shot. Outstanding work, Santos. Any indication of other snipers in the area? Negative contact at this time, but enemy snipers often work in pairs or teams, maintaining observation for additional threats. The gunshot would certainly alert any other enemy forces in the area, potentially triggering immediate relocation or retaliatory fire. Maria remained focused on systematic observation while the support team maintained heightened security awareness. 15 minutes later, movement in a different location caught her attention. A figure was moving quickly between rocky positions, apparently attempting to relocate after hearing the previous engagement. The range was significantly longer, approximately 1,100 meters, presenting a challenging shot under combat conditions. Williams, second target moving between positions at extreme range. Requesting permission to engage if I can get a clear shot. You're still cleared hot. Eliminate any threats you identify. The moving target complicated the engagement significantly. Maria would need to calculate not just range and environmental factors, but also target speed and direction to predict where her bullet would intersect the enemy's movement. Her scope tracked the figure as he moved between rocky positions, looking for the moment when he would pause long enough for accurate engagement. At 1,100 meters, even slight miscalculations could result in complete misses. The target stopped briefly behind a large boulder, apparently checking his own equipment or observing the area where his partner had been eliminated. This pause provided the opportunity Maria needed for accurate engagement. She adjusted her scope for the extended range, accounting for bullet drop and the slight crosswind that had developed as morning temperatures rose. The target remained stationary for approximately 30 seconds, providing adequate time for careful shot placement. The second shot required different calculations than the first. Extended range meant increased bullet drop, longer flight time, and greater sensitivity to environmental factors. Maria's experience with long-range shooting proved invaluable as she made rapid mental calculations. Her trigger pull was smooth and consistent despite the challenging conditions. The bullet's trajectory arced across the valley, striking the target as he prepared to move from his temporary position. Maria confirmed the second elimination through her scope before reporting. Second target eliminated. Range 1127 meters, confirmed kill. Jesus, Santos. That's some incredible shooting. Any more movement in your area? Negative contact. Continuing observation, but I think we got both of them. The mission continued for another 3 hours as Maria maintained overwatch while the support team gathered intelligence from the eliminated enemy positions. The bodies and equipment would provide valuable information about enemy capabilities and organization. Corporal Martinez returned from investigating the first sniper position with captured equipment and intelligence materials. Santos, you might want to see this. Your first target was carrying some interesting gear. The enemy sniper's rifle was a modified Dragunov with high-quality optics and custom modifications that suggested professional military training. His equipment included range cards for multiple positions, indicating systematic preparation for engaging American patrols. This guy wasn't some random insurgent, Martinez observed. Professional equipment, detailed preparation, and tactical knowledge that comes from real training. You eliminated a serious threat today. The intelligence materials revealed even more concerning information. Hand-drawn maps showed American patrol routes, timing data for regular operations, and detailed notes about base security procedures. The enemy had been conducting systematic surveillance of American forces. Williams, this intelligence needs to get back to headquarters immediately. These snipers were part of a larger intelligence gathering operation, not just random harassment of our patrols. Agreed. We'll call for extraction and get this material back to the intelligence section for analysis. Your shooting today eliminated a significant threat and provided valuable intelligence about enemy operations. The extraction helicopter arrived 2 hours later, carrying the team and captured materials back to base for detailed analysis. Maria felt satisfaction with the mission's success, but also concern about the implications of the intelligence they had discovered. During the flight back to base, Staff Sergeant Williams approached her over the helicopter's intercom system. Santos, that was some of the best shooting I've ever witnessed. Both targets at extreme range under combat conditions, clean kills that eliminated serious threats to our forces. Thank you, Sergeant. Good teamwork from your security team made those shots possible. I couldn't have maintained focus on hunting without knowing you had my back. The helicopter touched down at the base as afternoon temperatures reached their peak. Maria felt drained from hours of intensive concentration, but satisfied with her performance during the challenging mission. General Harrison was waiting at the landing zone with intelligence personnel who immediately began processing the captured materials. His expression showed obvious interest in the mission results and their strategic implications. Santos, I understand you eliminated 2 enemy snipers at extended ranges. Walk me through the engagements while the details are still fresh. Maria provided a detailed tactical debrief, describing target identification procedures, range calculations, environmental factors, and shot placement for both eliminations. General Harrison listened intently, occasionally asking technical questions about her decision-making process. The intelligence materials suggest these weren't random insurgents, but trained military personnel conducting systematic operations against our forces. Your elimination of this team has significantly degraded enemy capabilities in this sector. The captured equipment confirmed the general's assessment. Professional-grade weapons, detailed surveillance notes, and tactical preparations indicated that the enemy snipers had posed a serious long-term threat to American operations. Sir, based on the intelligence materials, I recommend expanded counter-sniper operations throughout our area of operations. These 2 snipers were probably part of a larger network that needs to be identified and eliminated. General Harrison nodded thoughtfully. I'm inclined to agree with your assessment. We'll analyze this intelligence and plan follow-up operations accordingly. In the meantime, excellent work today. As the debriefing concluded, Maria reflected on the day's events and their significance for her acceptance within the unit. 2 successful missions had demonstrated her tactical competence and marksmanship abilities, but she knew that building lasting professional relationships required consistent performance over time. The soldiers who had supported her mission approached as she prepared to return her equipment to the armory. Their attitudes had evolved significantly from the skepticism she had encountered just 2 days earlier. Santos, that shooting today was absolutely incredible. I've never seen anyone make shots like that under combat conditions, Corporal Thompson said with obvious admiration. Training and experience, Corporal. Same skills any good sniper develops with proper instruction and practice. Staff Sergeant Williams joined the group with a serious expression. Santos, I want you to know that my team has complete confidence in your abilities. Today's mission proved that gender has nothing to do with combat effectiveness. The acceptance felt genuine and hard-earned, based on demonstrated performance rather than politically correct politeness. Maria appreciated the soldiers' honesty and their willingness to judge her by professional standards. As evening approached, she began preparing for whatever missions might follow. Today's success had eliminated immediate threats, but revealed larger problems that would require continued operations. The war against enemy snipers was far from over, but Maria had proven her worth in the most demanding test possible: actual combat against skilled adversaries. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and opportunities to further establish her reputation. For now, she was content with the knowledge that 2 enemy snipers would never again threaten American soldiers, and that her own capabilities had been tested under the most demanding conditions possible. 3 weeks had passed since Maria's successful counter-sniper operation, and her reputation throughout the base had grown considerably. Word of her exceptional marksmanship and professional competence had spread beyond her immediate unit, earning respect from soldiers and officers who had never worked with her directly. The intelligence gathered from the eliminated enemy snipers had led to several follow-up operations that significantly disrupted insurgent activities throughout the region. Maria had participated in 5 additional missions, each one adding to her confirmed kill count and further establishing her credibility as a combat sniper. General Harrison summoned her to his office on a Tuesday morning, his expression serious as she entered and assumed the position of attention. The walls of his office had acquired additional maps and intelligence materials related to ongoing counterinsurgency operations. Staff Sergeant Santos, your performance over the past month has been exceptional. 11 confirmed kills, 0 mission failures, and intelligence gathering that has enhanced our operational effectiveness significantly. His tone carried genuine respect and appreciation. Thank you, sir. I'm honored to contribute to the mission's success. That's actually why I asked you here today. We've received intelligence about a high-value target operating in our area of operations. This individual has been coordinating sniper attacks against American forces throughout the region, and eliminating him would significantly degrade enemy capabilities. General Harrison moved to the map wall, pointing to a mountainous area approximately 15 kilometers from the base. Red markings indicated known enemy positions and suspected movement routes used by insurgent forces. The target is a former Iraqi military officer who has been training and organizing sniper teams since the invasion. Intelligence suggests he's personally responsible for coordinating attacks that have killed dozens of American soldiers over the past year. Maria studied the terrain features carefully, noting the tactical challenges that would complicate any operation in that area. The mountains provided excellent defensive positions and multiple escape routes for enemy forces familiar with the local geography. Sir, what specific intelligence do we have about his location and movement patterns? This type of target won't be easy to find or engage in that terrain. Limited intelligence, unfortunately. We know he moves frequently between several locations and uses local sympathizers for security and support. What makes this mission particularly challenging is that he's reportedly an excellent marksman himself, trained in Soviet sniper tactics. The general's briefing continued for another 30 minutes as he outlined the mission parameters, available support, and specific intelligence that might help locate the target. This would be Maria's most challenging assignment yet, requiring all of her skills and experience. Santos, I'm assigning you a larger support team for this mission. 8 soldiers, including a forward observer for artillery support if needed. The target is too valuable and too dangerous to approach with minimal backup. I understand, sir. When do we deploy? Tomorrow morning at 0500. This mission has priority approval from Division Command, and failure is not an acceptable outcome. This individual has killed too many of our people to remain operational. As Maria left the general's office, she felt the weight of responsibility that accompanied high-value target missions. Success would eliminate a significant threat to American forces, but failure could result in casualties among the soldiers supporting her operation. The expanded support team included soldiers from multiple units, all volunteers who had requested assignment to the mission based on Maria's growing reputation. Staff Sergeant Chun would serve as team leader, with 7 specialists providing security, communications, and intelligence support. The mission briefing took place that evening in the base's Tactical Operations Center. Detailed maps, satellite imagery, and intelligence reports covered every available surface as the team prepared for the complex operation ahead. Our primary objective is elimination of Hassan al-Mahmoud, former captain in the Iraqi Republican Guard and current coordinator of insurgent sniper operations. Staff Sergeant Chen began his briefing. Secondary objectives include intelligence gathering and disruption of enemy support networks. Maria listened carefully as Chen outlined the operational plan, insertion methods, and extraction procedures. The mission would require 3 days in hostile territory, with the team moving through areas where enemy forces operated with considerable freedom. Santos will serve as the primary shooter, with Corporal Jackson providing spotter support and backup shooting capabilities. The rest of us will establish security perimeters and provide early warning of enemy activity. Chen continued. The terrain analysis revealed both advantages and challenges for the operation. Mountainous areas provided excellent concealment and multiple observation positions, but also offered numerous hiding places where enemy forces could establish ambushes or surveillance points. Intelligence suggests our target moves between 3 primary locations, designated Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie on your maps. We'll establish observation posts covering all 3 areas and wait for him to reveal himself. Corporal Jackson, an experienced sniper himself, approached Maria after the formal briefing concluded. Santos, I've heard about your recent missions. Impressive shooting under challenging conditions. I'm looking forward to working with you on this operation. Thank you, Corporal. Having experienced spotter support will be invaluable for a mission this complex. What's your assessment of the terrain challenges we'll face? Difficult shooting conditions due to elevation changes and unpredictable wind patterns. Range estimates could vary significantly depending on which location our target appears at. We'll need to be prepared for shots anywhere from 600 to 1,500 meters. The technical discussion continued as Maria and Jackson reviewed range cards, environmental factors, and equipment configurations for extended operations in mountainous terrain. Their professional partnership would be crucial for mission success. The insertion phase began before dawn as the team moved through rocky terrain toward their designated observation areas. Each soldier carried specialized equipment for the extended mission, additional ammunition, surveillance gear, communications equipment, and survival supplies. Maria's equipment load included her primary rifle, backup weapon systems, extended range ammunition, spotting scope, and specialized gear for extreme long-range shooting. The weight was significant, but her physical conditioning allowed her to maintain pace with the rest of the team. Chun, this is Santos. Reaching observation point Alpha in approximately 15 minutes. No enemy contact during movement. Roger, Santos. Establishing security perimeter now. Begin observation procedures once you're in position. The observation point provided excellent visibility over 2 of the 3 suspected target locations. Maria and Jackson established their shooting position carefully, ensuring optimal concealment while maintaining clear sight lines to potential target areas. Through her scope, Maria began systematic observation of buildings and terrain features where intelligence suggested the target might appear. The process required enormous patience, as high-value targets typically employed sophisticated security procedures that minimized their exposure. Hours passed without significant activity as Maria maintained vigilant observation. Mountain sniping required different skills than desert or urban operations, with elevation changes and atmospheric conditions creating complex ballistic challenges. Jackson, I'm seeing movement at location Bravo. Adult male, approximately 1,200 meters range, but I can't get positive identification from this distance. Let me take a look through the spotting scope. We need to be absolutely certain before engaging a target at that range. Jackson's more powerful spotting scope provided better target identification capabilities at extreme ranges. After several minutes of careful observation, he confirmed that the individual matched general physical descriptions of their target. Santos, that appears to be our guy. He's moving between buildings with what looks like a security detail. Range is approximately 1,247 meters, based on my calculations. I can make the shot, but we need confirmation that it's actually Hassan before I engage. The range is extreme, and we can't afford mistakes with a target this important. The suspected target disappeared behind buildings before they could obtain positive identification, forcing them to continue patient observation while hoping he would reappear in better view. High-value target missions often required this kind of persistence and professional patience. 2 hours later, the target reappeared in an elevated position that provided excellent visibility for identification purposes. Through the spotting scope, Jackson could clearly see facial features that matched photographs in their intelligence packet. Santos, positive identification confirmed. That's Hassan al-Mahmoud, and he's carrying what appears to be a sniper rifle. Range 1247 meters, slight crosswind from the west. Target is stationary. I have the shot. Clear sight lines, stable shooting position, and confirmed target identification. Requesting permission to engage. Chen's voice crackled over the radio with authorization. You're cleared hot, Santos. Take the shot. Maria's world narrowed to the precise calculations required for this extreme-range engagement. Range, 1,247 meters. Wind, crosswind at approximately 8 miles per hour. Elevation, significant downward angle. Temperature, warm and stable. Target, stationary but could move at any moment. The shot would test every skill she had developed throughout her sniper career. At over 1,200 meters, environmental factors became critically important, and slight miscalculations could result in complete misses against a target who might not provide another opportunity. Her breathing slowed automatically as she entered the focused calm that characterized her best shooting. Years of training had prepared her for exactly this type of challenge: extreme range, difficult conditions, and enormous consequences for success or failure. The rifle's trigger broke cleanly under steady pressure. The .308 caliber round arced across the valley, its trajectory affected by gravity, wind, and atmospheric conditions that Maria had calculated with mathematical precision. Flight time at that range exceeded 1.5 seconds. Through her scope, Maria watched the target drop immediately upon impact. The shot had struck precisely where intended, eliminating the high-value target with a single round at extreme range under challenging conditions. Target down. Hassan al-Mahmoud eliminated. Confirmed kill at 1,247 meters. Outstanding shooting, Santos. That was an incredible shot under extremely difficult conditions. Jackson's excitement was obvious despite his professional demeanor. Chen's voice came over the radio with obvious satisfaction. Confirmed elimination of primary target. Prepare for immediate extraction. Enemy forces will respond quickly to investigate the shooting. The extraction phase proceeded smoothly as the team moved rapidly toward their designated pickup point. Enemy response was swift but unorganized, suggesting that Hassan's death had created immediate disruption in their command structure. During the helicopter flight back to base, Staff Sergeant Chen approached Maria with an expression of profound respect. Santos, that shot will be talked about for years. Extreme range, difficult conditions, and perfect execution under pressure. That was exceptional marksmanship. Thank you, Sergeant. Good teamwork from the entire support team made that shot possible. General Harrison was waiting at the landing zone when they returned, his expression showing obvious satisfaction with the mission results. The elimination of Hassan al-Mahmoud represented a significant victory in the ongoing counterinsurgency campaign. Santos, preliminary reports suggest your shot has already created disruption in enemy sniper operations throughout the region. Communication intercepts indicate confusion and concern among insurgent leaders about their security. The mission debriefing revealed the strategic importance of the successful operation. Hassan had been coordinating sniper attacks across multiple provinces, and his elimination would significantly degrade enemy capabilities for months to come. Sir, what's the confirmed range on that final shot? Maria asked during the technical portion of the debriefing. Laser range finder measurement confirmed 1,247 meters. That places your shot among the longest confirmed sniper kills in military history, achieved under combat conditions against a high-value target. Word of Maria's exceptional shot spread rapidly throughout the base and beyond. A 1,247-meter kill under combat conditions represented shooting excellence that even experienced snipers rarely achieved during their entire careers. Sergeant Rodriguez, who had questioned her capabilities during her first day at the base, approached her after the debriefing with an expression of genuine admiration and respect. "Santos, I owe you an apology. When you first arrived, I had doubts about whether a woman could handle the physical and mental demands of combat sniping. Your performance over the past month has proven that competence has nothing to do with gender." "Thank you, Sergeant. I appreciate your honesty, both then and now." The conversation represented more than personal vindication. It symbolized changing attitudes throughout the military regarding women's roles in combat operations. Maria's consistent performance had demonstrated that professional competence transcended gender stereotypes. As evenings settled over the base, Maria reflected on the journey that had brought her to this moment. From the initial skepticism and doubt to grudging acceptance and, finally, genuine respect, she had proven herself through the most demanding test possible: exceptional performance under life-or-death conditions. General Harrison's final comment during the debriefing captured the significance of her achievements. "Santos, your record here will serve as an example for future generations of military women. You've proven that excellence knows no gender boundaries." The badge controversy that had marked her arrival seemed like ancient history now. Her confirmed kill count of 97 enemy combatants, including the high-value target Hassan al-Mahmoud, spoke louder than any argument about her qualifications or capabilities. Tomorrow would bring new missions and fresh challenges, but Maria had already achieved something more valuable than personal vindication. She had opened doors for other women who would follow in her footsteps, proving that competence and dedication were the only qualifications that mattered in the profession of arms. The war would continue, but Staff Sergeant Maria Santos had already won the most important battle, proving that a woman could excel in any military role when given the opportunity to demonstrate her capabilities. Her legacy would inspire future generations of female soldiers who would no longer face the question of whether they belonged in combat roles. The general's initial disbelief about her badge had been replaced by profound respect for her achievements. Maria Santos had earned her place among the military's elite warriors through skill, courage, and unwavering professionalism under the most demanding conditions imaginable.